Hello everyone, I am Dinesh Chauhan from Gurukul Kurukshetra. Today we will discuss about the second chapter of history, class 8, from trade to territory. The company established power. Aurangzeb was the last of the powerful Mughal rulers. He established control over a large part of the territory that is now known as India. After his death in 1707, many Mughal governors and big zamindars began asserting their authority and established regional kingdoms. The British power began to emerge in India from the second half of the 18th century. The British originally came to India as a small trading company and were reluctant to acquire territories. East India Company comes east. In 1600, the East India Company acquired a charter from the ruler of England, Queen Elizabeth I. According to this charter, the East India Company got the sole right to trade with the East. With the charter, the company could venture across the oceans and look for new countries from where they could buy goods at a cheap price and sell it at higher prices. At that time, the company did not have any competition from other English companies. Trading companies made profit primarily by excluding competition so that they could buy cheap and sell it at higher price. The Royal Charter could not prevent other European powers from entering the eastern markets. Other trading companies, the Portuguese, established their presence in the western coast of India and got their base in Goa. Vasco da Gama discovered the sea route in India in 1498. The Portuguese, the Dutch, and the French traders came to India. The fine qualities of cotton, silk, the different spices like cloves, peppers, cardamom of India had a big market in Europe. All companies were interested to buy these products. The urge to secure markets led to fierce battle among the rival companies. The East India Company found it difficult to separate trade from politics. Next topic is East India Company begins trade in Bengal. The first English factory was set up on the banks of river Hooghly in 1651. Soon the trade expanded. The company persuaded merchants and traders to come and settle near the factory. By 1696, the company built a fort around the settlement. Trade led to battles. After the death of Aurangzeb, the Bengal Nawab Murshid Quli Khan, Alivardi Khan and Sirajuddaulah refused to grant concession to the company. On the other hand, the company declared that the unjust demand of the local officials were ruining their trade and they demanded duty-free trade. This conflict between the company and the Nawab of Bengal finally led to the famous Battle of Plassey in 1757. The Battle of Plassey. The company wanted a puppet ruler instead who would willingly give privileges, so they tried to help one of Sirajuddaullah's rivals become the Nawab. Sirajuddaulah got furious and asked the company to stop meddling in the political affairs and stop building forts and pay the revenues. After the negotiations failed, Sirajuddaulah along with 30,000 soldiers captured the English factory at Qasim Bazar and the company's fort at Calcutta. On hearing about the fall of Calcutta, the company officials in Madras sent forces under the command of Robert Clive. After the negotiations failed, the Nawab failed. Robert Clive led the company's army against Sirajuddaulah at Plassey. Clive managed to secure the support of Mir Jafar, one of the commanders of Sirajuddaulah. He did not fight the battle against the East India Company and thus helped the company win the battle. This was the company's first major victory in battle in India. After the Battle of Plassey, the defeat of Plassey, Sirajuddaulah was assassinated and Mir Jafar was made the Nawab. In 1765, the Mughal emperor appointed the company as the Diwan of Bengal. Mir Jafar died in 1765 and the company decided to become the Nawabs themselves. Next topic, company rule expands. Between 1757 and 1857, the East India Company annexed various Indian states. Instead of a direct military attack, it used political, economic, and diplomatic methods to influence the states. They followed different patterns while occupying the Indian states. Next topic is subsidiary alliance. According to this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent army. Rather, they were to be protected by the company and had to pay for the subsidiary forces provided by the company. If the Indian rulers failed to make the payment, the part of their territory was taken away. For example, Awadh and Hyderabad were forced to cede territories on this ground. Next, Tipu Sultan, the Tiger of Mysore. Mysore became powerful under the rulers like Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. Mysore, controlled by the profitable trade of the Malabar coast, where the company purchased pepper and cardamom. In 1785, Tipu Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom through the ports of his kingdom. He also disallowed local merchants from trading with the company. He established a close relation with the French traders and modernized his army with the help of the French. The East India Company fought for war with Mysore. Only in the last battle, the Battle of Srirangpatnam, the company ultimately won the war. Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital Srirangpatnam. Next topic is war with Marathas. The company tried to destroy the Maratha power from the late 18th century. The Marathas were divided into many states under different chiefs belonging to dynasties like Sindhia, Holkar, Gaikwad and Bhosle. They were held together in a confederacy under a Peshwa who belonged to Pune. Mahaji Sindhia and Nana Fadnis were two famous Maratha statesmen of the late 18th century. The company subdued the Marathas in the series of wars. The doctrine of lapse under Governor General Lord Dalhousie annexation were at the peak. Lord Dalhousie devised a policy that came to be known as a doctrine of lapse. According to this doctrine, if an Indian ruler died without a male child, his kingdom would become the part of their company territory. Satara, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Nagpur, Jhansi and Awadh were annexed by applying this doctrine of lapse. Next, setting up a new administration. British territories in India were broadly divided into administrative units called presidencies. There were three presidencies: Bengal, Madras, Bombay. Each was ruled by a governor. The supreme head of the administration was the Governor General. Warren Hastings from 1773 to 1785 was the first Governor General of India. Warren Hastings introduced several administrative reforms, especially in the spheres of justice. Next topic is the company's army. Colonial rule in India brought in some new ideas of administration and reform, but its power rested on its military strength. Sepoy Army. The East India Company adopted the same method like Mughal army when it began recruitment for its own army, which came to be known as the Sepoy Army, from the Indian word Sipahi meaning soldier. In the early 19th century, the British developed a uniform military culture. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to European style training, drill, and discipline that regulated their life for more than before. So, guys, it's all about this chapter. I hope you understand the content clearly. Thank you and have a nice day.